Club. I hope you guys are having a great day, great week, wherever you are and whatever day it is for you. It is February 13th when we're recording this, so it's probably Valentine's Day for everybody listening. Happy Valentine's Day to you. I hope you guys are spending times with your loved ones. But today is we're going to talk about real estate. It's a good day because we are talking about multifamily and retail with Brian Ferguson from Fergmar Capital. I love retail as an asset class. We just actually bought our first one that I've been telling you guys about. So this should be a good episode. I'm excited to jump into it. Brian, thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I told you before we got on here, we always like to start with stories. We like to hear how people got to where they are. So why don't you go back to the beginning of your story in real estate and just tell us how you got here?
All right. So 2005, I was working in finance in the auto industry, watching the the original Flip This House television show. Bought one. It was me and a couple guys that worked together. Bought a $10,000 house. Did that.
$10,000 house. Nice.
$10,000 house. Yeah, sold it for 89,000.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, I think we probably put 40, 50 in it. We made a few bucks on it. We think we did. I don't know. Our margin tracking probably wasn't the best back then, and then bought another one. There was three of us at the time. And then by like the fourth house, there was two of us. We eventually we kept going. He left, went full time. And then about, I guess, 06 ish, I went full time. We went from flipping two to a couple hundred transactions a year, went right into kind of the GFC there, 07, 08, 09, when things started crashing. And we kind of organically started keeping some of those that wouldn't sell. We just had this sell or rent motto. Fast forward, we had about 150 of those. We were buying some multifamily along the way, like just, 21 units, completely, vacant, 10,000 a door type stuff or less.
Wow.
We did all that, and then things started recovering, and we the market got really hot. We started selling off all these houses that we had, selling them in tranches, 1031, and buying more multifamily. Just kept going through that process. Fast forward to like 2019, 20 was about when we bought our last bigger complex, and then went into the COVID time. Just as you know, at multifamily, everything was kind of going crazy. We pivoted to start buying a little bit more commercial and shopping centers. And then I started doing some passive investing just because kind of everything was operating and running well. 21 decided no, passive wasn't the route. We still wanted to be active. And then kind of 21, 22, I've always had people approach me asking, hey, can we partner with you? We've always said no. It was just me and my partner the whole time. 22, a couple guys jumped in and we started buying bigger shopping centers, and we did that for a few years. And then 24, just really started focusing on this multifamily distress, and went into 25, doubled down on finding distressed multifamily. And that's what we did then. Picked up some last year, buying some more now. And so that's our focus now, is next few years, just distressed multifamily and buying these shopping centers.
Nice, man. I love it. Man, $10,000 a door back. What did you say? That was 2006 in multifamily. It is. What metro is that you were buying?
So that's all in our home base, Victoria, Texas, which we're a couple hours. We're like 2 hours from San Antonio, 2 hours from Austin, 2 hours from Houston.
Yeah, and you guys that's right on the Gulf, right?
Yeah, we're about it's like we're just far enough away to not have the extra insurance requirements. But you could be you could be at like Port O'Connor fishing in 30 minutes or so, something like that.
Nice. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like a trajectory that it's familiar to a lot of people. You start in single family, you're doing the flips or the rentals, you're watching HGTV, getting that little bit of money, and then it snowballs into multifamily. So what made you attracted to retail? A lot of people, once they get from single family into multifamily, sometimes they'll stay there, or they'll go into something that's more, self-storage, something that's a little bit more media friendly. That all the other content creators are talking about, but retail is not something that a lot of people jump into. Why'd you choose to go retail?
So, few reasons. One of it's exactly what you just said, because of what's the hype, what the hyped asset class is. But what got me into it was we had decided, okay, we're Victoria, Texas people. We don't want another market. So instead of if I can't buy multi, I'll just buy whatever I can. So I bought mobile home parks. I have single unit, triple net buildings. I have some medical stuff. I bought a dentist office from my kid's dentist when he retired. I mean, we were just all over the place, like all over the place. I own some restaurants. We own some bars, not the business, the buildings. Like it was just like, we're going to buy anything that pencils out and makes money and cash flows. That's what we're going to do. And that's where we're going to place our money. We don't do that anymore. Now we've determined let's focus on 2 asset classes. But while doing that, we bought a few smaller strips. And at the time I was taking all the calls, and I just very passionate, like getting on the phone with these business owners or like putting that deal together. I used to be in that day-to-day in multifamily. I don't get that same drive whenever I'm seeing this business open, then they thrive and it's a second location, and I just love that piece of it. So very passionate about it. And we got to be pretty good at it. And then when I brought in these partners, we bought our first big center. And then that's when it all, like, yes, it takes longer to stabilize, but if you do it right, I mean, sometimes I'm spending 5 minutes a month on a $10 million asset, like that will never be the case on a multifamily, but they both have their place. The reason I doubled down in retail was you could not buy, everyone was overpaying for multifamily. We all know that now. We didn't do it much. We did it on one or two. But the barrier to entry though, in these like a 20-year-old center that's 40,000 square feet, what happens is like right now I'm under contract on a multi and on a retail deal. The multifamily, like if I'm going to go get agency debt, right? Like the barrier to entry is so easy. They'll let someone be your KP. Like there's just all these ways that you can get in. And that's how these, everyone knows a lot of guys that, they're buying 150 units and no experience, or their balance sheet's very small. Retail, like I got to personally guarantee this. I have to have the liquidity. I have to have the balance sheet. And I was able to do that because I had 16 years of building up. I mean, before we started syndicating, like we already had a portfolio at about in the $80 million range. So like I already had the balance sheet. I had everything I needed. So my competition, like your big national like REITs, aren't going after 35,000 square foot, 2004 shopping center, or I call it like more neighborhood style. And syndicators aren't coming after it either. So it's a smaller competition pool there. And that's been nice for us. Multi it just went nuts. Like we couldn't compete with anything. It didn't seem like. So that's what's kept us in this space. And I think we've gotten really good at it, and we like it now.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the same argument that a lot of people make for the kind of small to mid-size multifamily, between like 20 to like 50, 60 units, somewhere around there, is that there's just not a lot of people going for it because the REITs don't want it. The little guys, it's too big for them. And so it fits a nice mix. But for multifamily, it sounds like you guys you aren't looking at that strategy. You're looking for the bigger deals. Tell us a little bit about that. You've mentioned the distress that's kind of happening in the sector right now. What are you guys seeing in terms of opportunities?
So like last year we bought one. So we repositioned. So we have a larger acquisitions team because we still do a couple hundred transactions a year on the single family side, and you have to have a big acquisitions team to do it. So we repositioned our model and or took some of it and brought that team in and used resources we had and just really started focusing on like not necessarily off market. Like I don't really care if it's listed or not listed or what it's listed at. Like the whisper prices of no bearing, we look at where's that loan sit, and that's where we research before we make offers. So just looking for that trouble. Like we closed on one mid last year, and it was pending foreclosure, not for debt service, but because they weren't doing the repairs, and it was a Fannie Mae. We were able to take that down. Yeah, it was an interesting model for us too. It brings I will say, assuming something that's in that type of default, you better be prepared for it because you're assuming all that those were, everything they haven't done and the requirements of,
I did not know. I wasn't aware of that. So the Fannie Mae loans, you can go into foreclosure just for deferred maintenance. Like you can be servicing the loan and still go into foreclosure.
Yeah, he was servicing the loan, paying investors. And this guy, so he actually we had, believe it or not, a little bit of snow like a year or two ago or whatever it was, not common here. And that weight on the carport collapsed on, I don't know, 15 cars underneath it. And then it became a headline. And then I think somehow that just got wind between lender and investors. And then the bank, they had sent him a report, like, hey, like, I mean, his stairwells were rotten wood. Like they send these things, like they're not messing around. Like insurance isn't either, right? But insurance will just drop you and you go get another policy. Like the bank will foreclose. I'd never experienced that either, but we did on this one. And then like the one we have now, they're coming up against, like we're closing into this month. I think their payoff is next month. And it was one of those, they bought in 22, CapEx funds got frozen, and just they were in default, and we're picking it up for loan balance, but with new debt, nothing assumable because it was a adjustable rate bridge debt. And what we're seeing is the lenders are just done. Like they're same, like that guy, like he had not been making those repairs for years, but the lender was letting it go. And what we're seeing in these deals where they're just done and they're pushing for it. So we're looking for something there. And where I think we compete against, like we're buying 288 units now. A lot of people, there's a lot of big groups that could have taken that down, but like we're buying this deal for like 57K a door, but it's a heavy lift. It'll be a home run, but it's a lot of work, but it's across the street from our corporate office. So I think a lot of people hit it back even harder because, they're not boots on the ground, and it's a lot of work. And we know that, but when we're done, it'll be positioned for, some REIT to come in and buy it, or some big buyer out of Cali or something like that. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. So in terms of identifying these deals, it sounds like you're using the debt on the property to identify which ones to go for. Is that something like that is how you're finding the off-market deals? Is you're looking through whatever CoStar, Property Radar, whatever, looking at the debt balance and then deciding whether it's something worth pursuing?
Yeah, like balance, yes. More so, like we try to focus on the status of that debt. Like, is it expiring? And we'll go. And sometimes they're like, yeah, it's expiring. I'm refining it. Everything's great. So we like and there's multiple lists, and none of them are super accurate. But then more so, like we get like, I mean, I'm sure everybody you get it too. Like I get like 50 emails a day, and it's like 49 or delete, or 50 or delete most of the time. But every now and again, you'll get one where, like I love it when I open it up and it's like, here's a T12 and a rent roll. There's no OM, like they've put no work into it. And then I'm like, okay, 5 brokers are shopping this to me. And then if I go look at it and it cross references to like, oh, an expiring loan list in 9 months. Okay, now. And then we've built in some AI to where, so we have like a bot inside. We use Asana for everything. And I got a guy super smart and all this. And, we'll send it to that deal bot that will forward the email over, and then it'll just outsource everything. And then we cross reference to those lists. And then it kind of tells us, does it hit those bullet points or not? And then that's when we go attack mode. Not like we're underwriting one right now that I don't have any information on the debt. The guy that owns it has like 5,000 units, looks to be some pretty good meat on the bone. We're just always, I try to ask that, like, why? If it's priced well, why? Because if you don't have to sell, you're not just pricing it low.
Yeah. There is always hair on deals that are priced well. That's for sure. Yeah. But for good reason. And that's, you can't get value for nothing. If you're buying the deal and there's meat on the bone, that means that you're the one that has to do the work. So yeah, I love that. Let's talk a little bit more about retail. It is something that I've really been interested in. I mentioned that we're buying our first one here coming up soon. So what is it? First, what do you look for when you're buying retail properties? You already mentioned the size. You said, what'd you say, like around 30,000, 40,000 square feet?
So like I bought one that I've done some that like 6 to 8, 3 tenant, 4 tenant. We just updated our buy box. I won't do that anymore. Like I think 10 to 12 is our just bare minimal. I like that 30 to 50,000 range. We like to see like 20, 25 years. I mean, they could be as new as 2014, but probably I'd say at least between 10 and 20 years old is a good sweet spot for us. Call it neighborhood retail centers. So we're looking for stuff that, think of something that's surrounded by a bunch of rooftops, and it's going to be filled with, like the one we're buying right now. We have an Edward Jones, we have a donut shop, a nail salon, Montessori school, a couple dentist offices, and I'm probably forgetting something. I think a behavioral school. So think of things that mom, dad, and kids are going to drive by to and from work every day. So you need to be by a bunch of rooftops for that to work. To us, that's recession resistant. No one's taking out the monitor. You're not going to throw your kid in front of a AI bot and get them to be better. Like, I mean, to a certain extent, right? But you're not replacing a dentist. And so we like it for that aspect. And then we look for stuff that has, this isn't always the case. Like sometimes you can just find the deal, but most of the time it's the value add comes in. Like this center, we need to paint it, put new awnings, clean it up, make it nicer. And then there's a bunch of vacancy where, tenants moved out, they've done nothing to the space. They're not marketing it properly. They're not offering TI dollars. So what happens is, like, these guys, you have these 10-year leases, they've owned it for 10, 15 years. Well, now leases expire. Well, the new tenant doesn't care. They want, okay, I need $20 a foot, $30 a foot to remodel it. And you get these older owners that are like, I'm not going to pony up 100 grand. Like, I don't want to do it. They can rent it or not. And that used to work, just like kind of multifamily. You didn't have to give concessions. Think of it in that aspect. We're not in that space anymore. Like, you need to be aggressive with your TI dollars. You need to be willing to pay the full 6% to multiple agents. Like, I get it didn't used to be that way, and these guys don't realize it. But for them, if the center's paid off, it's probably cash flowing, you know? So that's kind of where the value add play. It's very similar. It's just a different way of, it's like a different way of looking at concessions, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I just got into the space, so these terms are new to me. But for people who are listening, TI is something that I didn't know before. But that is basically when you give money back to the person who will be renting the space from you for repairs. So if they're renting, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Brian, but if they're renting a 20,000 square foot space, you'll give them $10 a square foot, $20 a square foot to do the repairs once they move in, versus you doing it or just renting it as is. Is that right?
Yeah, and like normally the way it works, so like 20 is probably on the low side, depends on. So let's say it's $20 a foot on a 10,000 square foot space. So 10,000 times 20, and then they'll get that normally once they've paid the first month's rent. So they don't get anything up front. Yeah, so they have to do the work, get their CO, certificate of occupancy, from the city or whatever the governing agency there, move in, and then once they've occupied and paid the first month rent, then they put in a request and we'll pay it to them. And then your leasing commissions are normally 6% of that lease amount. So if someone's paying $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 a year. It's a 5-year lease. You're paying on that total, so it's $60,000 times 6%. Yeah, and then
I didn't realize. That's interesting. I didn't realize retail commissions were on the full duration of the lease. I thought it was like the first year, but
and you got to be careful too, because they'll try to sneak in on all renewals. So we normally throw that language out, like, I'll pay you now.
Yeah, okay.
But if it's a national deal and they have a national brokerage representing them, they'll want it there, and then those guys get paid the second the lease is signed, half, and then the other half once the tenant moves in normally. So, but I mean, that's a good chunk of money, like between those two things. And if the center was already stabilized, it's hard to. And you have to bake that into your deals. Like, oh, this lease, I'm buying this deal and it expires in 2 years. You better bake in that TI and leasing commissions again, assuming that these people are going to move out. So that's another one where I think, people get bit like as you go through it. So I know I did like 2 years in, it's like, oh, I got to pony up another 50 grand.
Is there ever a situation where you like white box it prior to listing it, where you feel like you need to do work before doing the listing versus giving the TI to the person once they rented the unit from you?
Well, it's not either or, it's both. Like, you need to white box it, and then they're still going to want the TI. Like, so you need to go rip out everything you paid this guy to do 5 years ago. Now you need to go spend more money, rip all that out, and be prepared to pay the next guy so he can build it out, and then go rip that out when he's done in 5 years. Based on the space, right? Like, if it's a cash store, has a counter in the middle, maybe you're okay. But like, for like the one we're buying has a space. It was like some type of medical deal. I mean, it's a hodgepodge of offices and hallways. You can't even find yourself in there. And then there's like a pharmacy that moved out, and like all the pill bottles are still in the back. Like, it's creepy kind of, so just go in there, gut it, like gut out, maybe not all the walls, but like get any of the scary out, like roll the walls white, rip out nasty carpet. Same thing you would just kind of do to, like, if you were hoteling a house for, like, take it to single family world. But like, to me, it's like in the multifamily world, like, it's the same concept. Like, you're renting an apartment for $900 a month, and a tenant moves out, and you're going to spend $3 grand make ready and get, like, it's similar concept.
Yeah, that makes sense. What are, on the retail side, what are major red flags that once you see them, you're like, no, this is not a deal for me? Assuming, well, yeah, I mean, red flag, obviously purchase price is too high. Let's not talk about purchase price, but actually physical about the unit itself.
Like, buy box would be like age. I won't buy 70s, 80s, anything like that. I don't know that there's like some, if we're 2000 or newer, I don't know if there's a, we look at average household income and demographics. That's the first place we start. Like, if you're in, like at color codes, if you look at your household income map, like if we're in a red zone, we're out. Like, we're walking. Like, I don't care if it was built last year. There's ownerships that look just for that, though. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not the tenant base we want to deal with.
And that's actually, we were talking about before we got on here, we were talking about self-storage, and I was telling you, I've had some storage facilities that were broken into, and that was the lesson I learned, is buying in those red areas especially if it's a storage facility that is unmanned, you're going to get broken into. So you really need to be aware of the specific location you're buying in. Don't learn it the hard way.
Yeah, I mean, there's a home for it. Like, let's call those D class shopping centers. I mean, we want to buy B class. Like, I don't buy A class. I don't want those either. More B class, which is kind of the same world we live in multi. But yeah, I mean, I would say like if it's very heavy restaurant, like we try to stay away from that. If it's if one tenant, like I don't mind having an anchor. Like we got a center that 20,000 square foot of the 37 is a Planet Fitness, and then the other 17. But when it does have those large ones, we look at like how that footprint's laid out. Like we're buying one right now that has a Dollar Tree. The Dollar Tree eats up, I think, 18,000 square feet. But you can clearly look that the center was meant to be broken up, and they just, when it was a shell, gave it to them. Okay, well, those guys are gone. I can go put 100 grand, 200 grand, wall this off, and now I can, which that's fine because they're paying $8 a foot, and I can go put a couple hundred grand in at the end of their lease in 3 years, and now I can get $25 a foot. But we've looked at some where it's this big restaurant or something, it's so customized, it can never be anything else or not easily, we kind of walk on that. If the big tenant moves and we can't reconfigure, that's a big deal. Or if it's just primary, like 90% restaurant, we try to stay away from that. Just I guess kind of PTSD from the COVID days,
Yeah, that makes sense. Nice, man. Well, I just took a peek at the clock. It looks like we have run it down, so it's time to jump into the quick question round. Are you ready?
Yep, let's do it.
Let's do it. Starts with education. It could be any form. Could be a book you've read, movie you've seen, conference you've gone to, mentorship program you've been a part of. I just need 2 recommendations, one for general life wisdom and then one for real estate.
General life wisdom, maybe. If it's like the business front, I'd say EOS. We operate on EOS. I think that's a major one. And you said one for real estate specific?
Real estate or business. It could be either or.
So I'll change that. So put EOS for like business real estate, because I think running a good real estate company, the business EOS is huge, or some platform like it. And then personal, book wise, 21 Laws of Leadership book is still one of my favorite. I recommend that one all the time. That's huge. I could probably read it every once a quarter, so
nice.
Maybe go with those 2.
Yep. And for everybody who's not aware, EOS is entrepreneurial operating system. Is that right?
Yep, that's it.
Nice. All right, next question is for your younger self. Let's go back to the Brian who was doing that first flip with his 3 other buddies back in, I think you said 2005. Go back to him, look him in the eye, give him one piece of advice moving forward.
Partner sooner. It's okay.
Nice. I like that. You are actually the first person to say that. And I like that advice because we've had people on here who are, on both sides of the fence. I want to do everything myself. I want to partner with other people. I land squarely on, I like partnering. I like, partnering with other people, other organizations. And so I love that you said that. Why do you say that?
So, I mean, I've had a partner since the beginning, but we were always, it's just us, like, let's buy it before them. Let's do this better. Let's beat them. And that worked for us. We did really well. But I think at some point, like, I remember all the deals. Like, I bought some of those $5,000 and $10,000 doors, but there's a lot of them I didn't buy, like at 100, 150, because I didn't have enough capital. And I had people that would have brought the capital in for a piece of ownership, and we just refused to do it. We couldn't get out of our own way. And now I'm doing, and it's great. We're positioned to do it now with the experience, but I don't know. I wish I would have gotten, not just partner on everything, whatever, but like, I wish I would have, just been more open-minded to that earlier on.
Yep. Nice. I like it. All right. Next question is about the U.S. It's a big place. There is a lot of opportunity out there. Give me the single metro you're most excited about investing in today.
Outside of where we're at in Victoria, Texas, I am in Houston submarket. So Katy, Sugar Land, Rosenberg, Richmond, that area right now is where we're very bullish buying. We already have our shopping centers there, fixing to acquire another one, and then I'm going into multifamily there now.
Nice. I like it. Yeah, the Texas Triangle is my favorite area. Absolutely. Next question is about finding deals. It all starts with getting in contact with the seller and penning that purchase agreement. So what is your favorite way to generate leads and find new deals?
Direct to seller is great. I don't know that that's my favorite way. relationship building. Like I go to conferences, I shake a lot of brokerages' hands. I think everybody in the syndication world thinks that, oh, let me go to the conferences and find a bunch of like investors. Like I don't think that's the way to find investors at all, and it's proven that that's not the case anymore. Making relationships with a lot of the brokers there. What market are they in? Who do they know? And then when you get these 50 emails, go sign up for every single list. And then I literally have a template in my email. I auto respond. Thank you for sending. This one doesn't work for us at Fergmar Capital. Here's my buy box. Please keep me in mind. Would love to schedule a call. Here's my calendar link. And I wore that out for 2 years. And now I get text messages and calls all the time, but you got to put in the work and people have to know who you are. If not, because we all know the general email is not worth buying.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that you said that, and that's something that I only recently, maybe I'm dense or something, but only recently have I kind of jumped on the broker train. Call it a train. It's like the thing that everybody does, but for some reason I thought you could only find deals off market for a long time, and that's what I focused on. But now I really just like calling brokers. I like talking to brokers. It's they're the deals, they have the deals in the first place. They're the ones out there calling. They're, even before it hits the market, they'll probably find a buyer sometimes. And so just making those relationships is so much better and just more enjoyable in my opinion. So yeah,
like a 2-second story on that. We had this deal, it had a hurricane damage, been vacant for like 5-6 years. My acquisitions team follows up with this guy every month, or if he says, oh, he's going through a lawsuit, like with insurance, call me in 3 months, call me in this. Their next follow-up was on February 28th because he said he'd be through court. They've been following up with him for 3 years. 3 years. Broker sends me the deal 2 days ago. Has the listing. He never even called us. So like that doesn't always work, but he sold it to the guy. And I think they just feel more comfortable dealing with someone that they think is a professional in that space. So it is what it is.
Yeah. And it's, I've really enjoyed just speaking with brokers versus sellers, because when you're on the call with a seller, they tend to get a little bit more defensive. If you are the buyer versus a broker, they know that the broker's on their side trying to get the highest dollar, so they're willing to talk to them.
Yeah, even for like PSA, like when you're renegotiating, you may ask for something to the seller and they're automatically defensive, where a broker's like, no, dude, like, listen, you need to give them the roof credit. You didn't disclose that, so it can be helpful.
Yep. All right. Next question is lessons learned. Not every deal we get into goes the way we expect it. In fact, pretty much every time something goes wrong, but that's when we get to learn a lesson. So what was a deal that went a little bit sideways for you guys? And then what was the lesson you pulled from it?
So our first syndicated deal was actually in a multifamily, was a 56 unit, like in 23. And doing well now. It does phenomenal, but it was a bumpy road getting there. What we learned was, so we had 100+ unit complexes with staff, and then we had up to 42 units standalone. So we thought 56 units, pro forma this just like the 42 all day long. The 42 was just townhouses, right? Like just individual standalone. This was a complex. A complex has a pool and common areas, and it has to be staffed. Well, guess what? You cannot afford a staff at 56 units. So we ran through this wall of, and it didn't help that it was a fraudulent seller that had ghost leases, and we learned our lesson on not trusting people there. So that was another lesson we'd learned. I just guess we're not in a big town. Like no one had fraudulently tried to screw us before. So we learned that. And so now we don't trust anyone. But so as we're recovering from that, we're having a hard time leasing, but it doesn't matter the unit count. It matters, is it set up as a community? I don't care if it's 20 units or 200 units. You could have 200 townhouses next to each other, and if there's no amenities, you probably don't need anybody on site. You probably can get away with it. But you had to have it for this 56. Luckily, we owned enough stuff around where we packaged it together so we can have it on site. Now it's doing great. But that was just, we had 700 units when we bought it, and we were clueless to that fact somehow. Yeah. So,
yeah. And that's, we were talking before this, how for self-storage, I learned that same lesson. If you buy something too small, and you don't have somebody on site, it can really tank the deal. So that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, is buying bigger is actually safer than buying smaller. People think you buy small, you don't have as much to lose. The risk is smaller, but really it's a bigger risk because you can't staff it. And then if something does go wrong, all of your NOI is just gobbled up by whatever issue that you run into. So
Yeah.
All right, second to last question. This is about AI. It's new here, or it's a new question that we've been asking. AI is here to stay, and we try to implement it in as many places as we can responsibly do so. So, what is the way that you're implementing AI in your business that's most impactful to your day to day?
So specific to this, I guess I mentioned it a little bit earlier. So we've built a bot that like kind of scrubs all the deals. Like we still have to send it over and it scrubs all the deals and kind of cross references our buy box and then like kind of auto assigns it to the first person in that process of getting it through. So that's worked out really well. And then from a personal standpoint, I'm a Claude person. I have like the upgraded Claude, but
Yeah.
I mean, so I have Claude like tied to my Gmail calendar, my Gmail email. It's tied to my Asana. So like it has just saved me. Like I use it as my assistant. I don't have one. I had one and I don't anymore. But literally, I'm like, hey, search this email thread, look at this Asana task, cross-reference this, draft this, and then like I just let it go and work by itself while I jump into something else. So, and I think that's more of like a juvenile way to use it. It's not like I'm not coding or doing anything crazy, but
Yeah.
it has just been like the new one can literally build comprehensive spreadsheets, work inside of Excel, like. And if if you're still manually doing stuff like that, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a subscription to literally every single one of them. Perplexity, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, you name it. I got a subscription, and I did that in order to kind of decide which one to use, forever. And
Yeah.
I'm starting to go towards Claude. I like Claude. I mean, it integrates with everything really well, but it also the responses that come back, I just like them the best. I don't know why. They just seem more comprehensive. And it is better with Excel. Some of them, I think it's Gemini or ChatGPT, just can't do Excel well. But yeah, Claude is winning me over. That's for sure.
Like I can't get its tone right. You know what? Like I don't even use it for like social media or like investor email responses, anything anymore. The only thing I use ChatGPT for, so I use it for two things. I spent hours and took pictures of every piece of equipment in the gym, and so I have it write my workout plans, and then
Nice.
it has every picture of every clothing item I have because I'm colorblind, and so I will tell it what I'm doing, and it picks out my outfits for me.
That is a good use case right there. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. That leads us to the very last question. This is for the listeners. You've given us a lot to think about. I'm sure people want to reach out, get in contact with you. This is a two-parter. Where can they find you? And then what can they expect when they reach out?
So fergmarcapital.com is our website. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So and then my contact info is on LinkedIn, message me, or you can email, call me. When you reach out, I guess it just depends. Like, if someone's looking for advice, I'll take the calls all day long. If you're looking to invest, obviously we have some active deals now. And then, if it's vendor services, it just depends on what that is. And, if it's something that lines up with us, but I'm very active on LinkedIn. I take calls constantly. So always happy to connect.
Cool. And I will put Ryan's link in the comments or in the show notes. So if you guys want to reach out, all you got to do is click the little more in the description. It's going to pull down that full description, and in there you can find his links. All right, man, that wraps it up. Thank you very much for hopping on the show.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. For everybody who's with us today, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason we do this. So if you guys have any questions, reach out to me, Gabe, at therealestateinvestingclub.com. If you guys want to support the show, just leave us a review, comment, anything like that. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.